part of this has to do with the fact that the Younger Dryas impact event is still, it's a theorized event.
Well, I mean, theorized. I mean, everything's a theory, right? In
Well, it's
science.
true,
So
but like you look at you, okay, so for a long time before the acceptance of the Chicxulub impact, there was the fact that yes, the dinosaurs were wiped out. Yes, there was something that caused it. And some people were out in the, in left field being like, it was probably an impact. And it took until they found the KT iridium layer for that to become accepted. And so I glanced through your book and you have this presentation on the black mat. And so it seems like that's a very similar level of evidence for the Younger Dryas. But then when you start to look into the Younger Dryas, people are like, well, it's maybe. Like, is that because Graham Hancock has grabbed onto it and people are just, they want to screw him? Or what's the...
yes, basically.
Graham, you poor guy. So, yeah, like, tell me a little bit about the controversy over the Younger Dryas. Because clearly you come down on the fact that the evidence is ample. So there's a layer of platinum that
Yeah,
is...
there's several indicators, and I would agree. Yeah, I've written a review paper on this. But so in my view, and my review paper has been backed up by a following review paper, which basically agrees with me more or less. So, for my view, the evidence is overwhelming. It's clearly um, a cosmic impact at 10,835, roughly plus or minus 50 years. The nature of the impact is debated. It's very difficult to pin that down. The most likely scenario at the moment is that it was a sort of widespread distribution of cometary fragments that created multiple, I mean, we're talking potentially hundreds of thousands or more, different impacts over perhaps a hemisphere of the globe. So not that may not be, clearly it clearly is not the final answer. There's still work to be done, but that's, I think, the best story at the moment. Trying to fit what all the evidence is telling us. There is, there was, I guess there probably still is going to be some resistance to that idea. But if you look at the quality of papers or quality of evidence used by opponents of the theory, it's pretty poor. So basic sort of scientific errors in the way that they report data. So the way I see it now, I'm not an expert. My background in science is not in impact science or sort of earth sciences. I'm more of a material scientist from that kind of direction. But yeah, so but as I see it anyway, that the evidence that you have there, you've got sort of a layer of platinum, you've got nanodiamonds, you've got what are considered to be impact microspherules. Quite often there are layers of charcoal or very fine soot, and this appears to be at a discrete layer in the sediment across many continents. And so I think the only way that you can reasonably explain that, at least to my knowledge, is as a cosmic impact event. So I think the evidence is pretty overwhelming. A lot of the debate against the impact, I think, relies on misconstruing, let's say, I think the radiocarbon data. So, as I'm sure you're aware, that in a radiocarbon data, there can be a lot of error, a lot of uncertainty in the precision. And so sometimes you'll see, for instance, that, this layer in the sediment is not compatible with the Younger Dryas date. But I think in those cases, it's really misunderstanding or misrepresenting or having undue confidence in that radiocarbon data. So I think when you look at it as a whole, I think it's a really, really strong case, overwhelmingly strong in my view, which is why I wrote the paper.
How many sites has the black mat been discovered in?
I don't know exactly, actually. Of the order of 40 or 50, I think, the latest count. I'd have to go and look at the paper to tell you.
What is this?
So the black mat is the I guess stratigraphic evidence of the Younger Dryas impact event, where there's an elevated level of, is it platinum?
So it's a combination of impact signals. You've got platinum, what are thought to be impact microspherules, nanodiamonds, and quite often a layer of soot or charcoal. Sometimes it's so fine that it's difficult to, you can't visually see it, so you get microscopy. Yeah, so this is in a layer which, according to radiocarbon dating, is consistent with 10,835 on several different continents. So many of the Americas, mostly Western Europe. There's one site in the Levant, so that's Abu Huraira, so one of the world's first villages, seems to have been utterly destroyed by one of these impacts. Yeah, so there's something like 40 or 50 sites across 3 or 4 continents, and South America too.